All right, so buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into some of the most powerful chapters in the Bible.
Oh, yeah. We're talking Luke chapters 22 through 24.
We're going to unpack all those events in Jesus' last days on earth,
That's right, from the Last Supper.
all the way to the Ascension.
You know the basic story?
But trust me,
There's a lot in these pages that might surprise you.
a lot going on in there.
So much depth.
And for this deep dive
Our main source material
is Luke 22:24. The passion, resurrection, and ascension of Jesus Christ.
Even if you think you know the story well,
This document?
it offers a fresh perspective.
That's right.
It's really amazing how Luke
really captures
all the raw emotions
Akwama.
unfolding against this huge backdrop of the divine.
Exactly. And
Let's start.
yeah, let's just jump right in.
At the Last Supper,
Okay, so it's Passover.
a time of remembrance.
Celebration.
Such a significant time.
What's interesting to me
Yes.
is how Jesus uses this familiar setting
Right.
to foreshadow his own sacrifice.
Yeah. He breaks bread
Pours the wine.
and says, "This is my body given for you."
That's such a
Such a profound moment.
for Christians.
These words and actions established the Eucharist, which is a central ritual that continues to this day.
Yeah.
Of course, different denominations interpret its meaning in various ways,
Right.
but there's no doubt that everyone recognizes the sacrifice Jesus was about to make.
But you know what gets me?
What's that?
In the middle of all of this,
Yeah.
the disciples are literally bickering about who's the greatest.
I know.
Like, are you kidding me?
Talk about missing the point.
Seriously.
Oh, it's almost funny.
But it's also like, come on, guys.
Right, but it shows how human nature can be
It's
so
so human.
human.
Exactly.
It happens even in the presence of the divine.
Yeah. Even those closest to Jesus.
Struggled with ego and ambition.
Yeah. And I also love how
Er?
I love how Jesus is just so patient.
Oh, yeah.
Like he continues to teach them and guide them.
Even as they're squabbling like children.
It makes you wonder, like, what would you even say to them if you could go back in time?
I know, right?
Guys, seriously, now.
Come on.
Okay, but moving on
Yes.
from the drama of the Last Supper,
We come to.
the Garden of Gethsemane.
Here's where the emotion really ramps up.
Yeah, Luke describes Jesus praying so intensely
So intense.
that his sweat,
Is like drops of blood.
that imagery is so powerful.
I know it conveys the weight of what Jesus is facing.
Betrayal, suffering, and death are right around the corner.
That's right.
You know, it's hard for me to imagine
Yeah.
the level of anguish that he must have been going through.
It's hard to fathom.
But there's also this incredible sense of surrender to God's will.
Yes. Surrender.
And that's not just a story about Jesus.
It's not just a story about Jesus.
It's a reflection of the human struggle
All of us,
to find strength.
when we're faced with these overwhelming challenges.
You know, we've all faced moments of despair
Oh, yeah.
where we have to make difficult choices.
The uncertain outcome.
And Jesus' prayer in Gethsemane,
It's a testament
it really is
to the power of faith
that we can turn to something greater than ourselves.
and find solace and guidance.
And you know, that inner strength
Yeah.
is really apparent in how Jesus handles his arrest.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, here comes Judas with this whole armed mob.
Betrayal, fear, chaos.
You would think there would be some epic fight scene.
Right.
Instead,
He's so
he
composed.
doesn't resist arrest at all.
And he even heals the servant.
Oh yeah, whose ear gets cut off during all the commotion.
It's
It's
incredibly,
like he's choosing compassion.
even in the face of aggression,
It's a different path.
love and forgiveness.
Then, of course, comes the trial.
Oh, the trial.
This part always gets to me.
It's such a stark reminder
It is.
of how political maneuvering and mob mentality can just hijack justice.
Totally. And Pilate even acknowledges Jesus' innocence.
He does.
But the pressure from the crowd is just overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
It's a chilling example
It really.
of how fear and groupthink can lead to such terrible outcomes.
We see it throughout history.
Oh,
Sadly, even today.
Makes you think, how easily could we be swayed
Yeah.
by a powerful crowd?
That's a really thought-provoking question,
is.
especially in our age of instant news and social media,
Oh, yeah.
where narratives are easily manipulated.
That's right.
It speaks to the importance of critical thinking,
Yeah.
evaluating information independently.
And we also see Peter's denial during the trial.
Yeah.
He's scared and confused.
And ultimately, he denies knowing Jesus 3 times.
It's heartbreaking.
I know.
But I think most of us can relate to that feeling
Yeah,
of letting fear just get the best of us.
absolutely. Peter's denial highlights the fragility of human courage
Yeah.
when we're under immense pressure.
But it's also a story of redemption
Yes.
because Peter recognizes his failure and repents.
That's right.
His experience shows that even when we falter
We can acknowledge our mistakes.
and seek forgiveness,
That's a powerful message of hope.
we're all capable of messing up,
Yeah.
but it doesn't define us.
Yep.
We can always choose to get back up and try again.
Always.
And then we come to the pivotal moment.
The crucifixion.
This event is central to Christian theology,
Yes, it's seen as the ultimate act of sacrifice.
where Jesus takes upon himself the sins of humanity.
The weight of that symbolism is immense.
I mean, it's hard to comprehend.
Yeah.
The physical and emotional suffering he endured,
Carrying that cross.
the humiliation,
Yeah.
the agony of the crucifixion itself.
But even then,
Wow.
in the midst of all that,
Yeah.
he says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing.
That statement is so powerful.
Powerful, and it's resonated throughout history.
It has.
It challenges us to look beyond our own pain
Right.
and consider the perspective of those who have wronged us.
Yeah, because forgiveness is not about condoning harmful action.
It's not.
It's about breaking that cycle of anger and resentment.
Exactly.
And then right at the moment of his death,
Uh-huh.
Luke describes these incredible events.
Incredible.
There's an earthquake that rocks the region,
Wow.
and the veil in the temple,
Oh, wow.
the one that separates the Holy of Holies from the rest of the temple,
Right.
is torn in two.
Those are some dramatic events,
They are.
and they're rich with symbolism.
So can you help me unpack this a little bit?
Sure.
What was the significance of the veil?
Okay, so the Holy of Holies
Okay.
was the most sacred space in the temple, and it was only accessible to the high priest once a year.
Wow.
It represented the presence of God,
Okay.
and that veil symbolized the separation between the divine and humanity.
So what does it mean that it's torn in two at the moment of Jesus' death?
Right.
Is it just a coincidence?
I don't think so.
Or is there a deeper meaning?
Most Christian interpretations see this as much more than just a coincidence.
I'll agree.
The tearing of the veil symbolizes that barrier between God and humanity being broken down. It signifies a new era of access and relationship with God.
Made possible through Jesus' sacrifice.
Yes.
So it's not just a physical event. It's like a theological earthquake.
Exactly.
It changes the entire dynamic between humanity and the divine.
It really does.
Wow. Okay. I think we're on the edge of something truly amazing here.
I think so too.
We've gone from a celebratory meal to betrayal and arrest,
A rigged trial.
horrific execution.
And now the symbolic tearing of the veil.
What happens next?
Well, you're going to have to wait for part 2 to find out.
I need to know.
I know you do. Okay, so you want to know what happens next?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're at the tomb
Okay.
early Sunday morning.
Yeah.
The women who followed Jesus,
Okay.
Mary Magdalene, Joanna,
Yeah.
Mary, the mother of James,
Yeah.
they're all going to the tomb to anoint his body.
What do you think was going through their minds?
Well, I imagine they were overwhelmed with grief and despair.
Yeah.
They had witnessed his brutal execution,
Right.
and now they're facing this grim reality of burying him. They get to the tomb,
Uh-huh.
and it's empty. Instead of a body, they encounter 2 angels.
Oh, wow.
And these angels deliver a message that changes the course of history.
What's that?
He is not here. He has risen.
Wow.
It's a moment of pure shock and awe.
Again.
I mean, imagine their fear turning to bewilderment
Yeah.
and then slowly
Yeah.
to this dawning sense of hope.
It's interesting
What is?
that it's these women
Yeah.
who were often marginalized in society
Yes.
become the first witnesses to the resurrection.
Which is the cornerstone of Christian faith.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is. And it's really cool to me
Yeah.
how Luke, being a physician himself,
Right.
is really careful to detail.
He's very specific.
Yeah, the physicality of the resurrection.
Yeah.
This isn't some ghost story.
No.
He describes Jesus as having this real tangible body.
Yeah, but one that clearly defies our understanding of mortality.
That's a really important point.
Yeah.
Because Christian theology distinguishes between Jesus' resurrected body and like a ghostly apparition.
It does.
It does.
His resurrection body is transformed.
Yeah.
It's capable of things we just don't understand,
Right.
but yet it's still recognizably him.
So the women rush to tell the disciples.
Yes, they do.
Who are probably like, what are you talking about?
Right, they're a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
I mean, who wouldn't be?
Right.
It's not every day your executed leader suddenly reappears.
Yeah, they're struggling to process the impossible.
They are.
But
Then Jesus himself begins to appear to them
Oh, wow.
to confirm his resurrection.
In a series of encounters
Yes.
that really solidify their faith.
And set them on a new course.
And one of my favorite encounters
Oh, yeah.
is the story of the road to Emmaus.
I love that story.
Two disciples are walking,
Yeah.
and they're discussing the events of the past few days,
Totally dejected.
and a stranger joins them.
Mm.
So why didn't they recognize him?
It's Jesus.
I know it's Jesus.
But Luke tells us their eyes were restrained from recognizing him. And that sets up such a fascinating mystery.
Yeah.
Some scholars suggest there was some supernatural element that prevented them from recognizing him,
Yeah.
while others propose it was just their grief and preoccupation that blinded them.
That's a really interesting point.
It is. So they're having this deep conversation about everything that's happened. And this stranger, this Jesus in disguise, he's guiding them through the scriptures.
He's like giving them a Bible study on the go.
I love a Bible study on the go.
Yeah.
And he's explaining how it all fits into God's plan.
He's connecting the dots.
Yes, he is.
And then
they
reach their destination.
Yeah.
And they invite the stranger for dinner.
And as he breaks bread
Yes.
and blesses it, boom, recognition hits them like a lightning bolt.
That's such a powerful moment.
It is.
And it echoes the actions of the Last Supper.
It does.
Right? Connecting the resurrected Christ with the one who offered himself as a sacrifice.
Exactly. Then he vanishes.
I know.
Just as quickly as he's recognized.
That must have been so confusing.
I know. I can only imagine that mix of awe and confusion.
Yeah, and probably a little bit of frustration.
Yeah. But it reminds us that encountering the divine isn't always about this physical presence.
Right.
But about recognizing Christ's presence in these unexpected ways.
Yeah.
Often through ordinary things like sharing a meal.
Or studying scripture.
Or just experiencing a moment of profound insight.
Yeah.
These appearances, they continue.
Right.
And it's not just to prove that he's alive.
Right.
It's to strengthen his followers' faith and prepare them for the mission ahead.
It's like boot camp for the apostles.
I love that boot camp for the apostles.
So these appearances culminate
in the Ascension.
What exactly happened during the Ascension?
Okay, so after 40 days of appearing to his disciples, Jesus leads them out to the Mount of Olives.
Okay.
And as they watch, he ascends into heaven.
Wow.
It marks the end of his physical presence on earth.
So what does that mean?
What does it symbolize?
Yeah, what does it symbolize?
Well, the Ascension signifies Jesus' return to God the Father. It's the completion of his earthly ministry.
Yeah.
It's a transition of authority, a passing of the torch, you could say.
So they're not left alone, though.
No.
What happens next?
He promises to send the Holy Spirit, this divine advocate,
and guide
to empower them.
To continue his work.
Yes.
Wow. So the Ascension launches a new era.
It does.
It's the birth of the church.
That's right. A community of believers.
Tasked with spreading the message of Jesus to the world.
And boy, did they ever.
But I know the Ascension is still kind of a head-scratcher for a lot of people.
It is.
So what are some of the different ways that Christians have interpreted the Ascension?
Throughout history.
Yeah.
Yeah, some see it as a literal physical ascent to a heavenly realm.
Yeah.
While others see it more symbolically.
Right.
Some focus on the separation between the earthly and the divine realms. While others emphasize that empowering aspect of sending the Holy Spirit to equip the disciples for their mission.
It's amazing how one event can have such diverse interpretations.
It really is.
It really speaks to the complexity of theological thought.
Yeah, throughout history.
So we've journeyed from the Last Supper to the Garden of Gethsemane.
We've seen the trials.
The crucifixion and all those incredible events surrounding his death.
And then we explored the mystery and wonder of the resurrection.
Culminating in the Ascension.
Quite a journey.
What are some key takeaways you think our listeners should really hold on to?
Okay, well, I think one of the most striking aspects is the emotional roller coaster that Luke portrays.
Yeah.
He doesn't shy away from those raw human responses.
Yeah.
The disciples experience fear, doubt, grief, and ultimately overwhelming joy and this renewed sense of purpose.
It's a journey.
It is. It reminds us that faith is a journey,
often
filled with challenges and uncertainties.
We see ourselves.
We do.
In their struggles and triumphs.
And another key takeaway is that enduring message of hope.
Yes.
Even in the face of death, darkness doesn't have the final say.
No, it doesn't.
The resurrection offers this powerful reminder that new life is always possible.
It really does.
That love can triumph over hate.
Yes.
And even in those darkest moments, there's a glimmer of light.
And then there's the call to action.
Oh, yeah. The story doesn't end with the Ascension.
No.
It's an invitation for us to continue the mission that Jesus started.
Right. To be his witness.
To spread his message of love and forgiveness.
Exactly. And I think for me, it's recognizing that the story's still unfolding.
It is.
We all have a role to play.
We do.
It's not about these grand gestures.
Right.
It's about those little things.
It's about living out our faith.
Yeah, in tangible ways, making a difference.
You know, it's interesting to consider
With that.
how these events might have shaped the disciples' understanding of leadership.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they went from following a charismatic leader to being tasked with leading a movement themselves.
That's a great point.
It's a huge shift.
They had to navigate internal conflicts.
Right.
Figure out how to structure this new community.
And then face persecution.
Right, from those who oppose them.
They had to grapple with so many questions.
Authority interpretation.
And how to translate Jesus' teachings.
Into a practical framework
for living.
that leads to a fascinating question.
Oh, what's that?
For our listeners.
Okay.
If you could ask the disciples one question.
One question.
About their experience of leading the early church.
Wow.
What would it be?
What would you ask?
What insights would you seek from those who walked alongside Jesus?
And witnessed the birth of Christianity.
That is a powerful question.
It is.
To ponder.
It challenges us to think beyond the narrative of the Gospels.
Yes.
And consider the lived experiences.
Of those who carried the torch of faith forward.
It's amazing.
We hope this deep dive into Luke chapters 22 through 24 is giving you some new insights.
I hope so.
Into this pivotal part of the Bible.
It's an amazing story.
It's a story of love, sacrifice, hope.
And the enduring power of faith.
And as always,
Yes.
we encourage you to continue exploring.
Keep questioning.
And deepening your own understanding of these timeless truths.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks